Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the human ship Horizon and watched the stars change color. The jump drive had worked perfectly, bringing them to the edge of what the computers called the Galactic Federation space. After 300 years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. "Captain, we're getting a signal," said Lieutenant Amy Clark from her station. She was the ship's science officer, a young woman with bright eyes who had dreamed of meeting aliens since she was a child. "It's coming from that big structure ahead of us." Jake looked at the main screen. A massive space station hung in the darkness, bigger than any city on Earth. Lights blinked along its surface like stars, and ships moved around it like insects around a lamp. The station looked like it was built by 100 different species, all working together. "Put the signal through," Jake said. The screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something that definitely wasn't human. The alien was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal. Light moved through its body like water, and when it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Greetings, unknown vessel," the alien said. "I am Ambassador Zex Thiel of the Galactic Federation. You appear to be from an uncharted world. Please identify yourselves." Jake stepped forward. He had practiced this moment 1,000 times, but his heart still raced. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the human exploration ship Horizon. We come from a planet called Earth, and we're here in peace." The alien's crystal body suddenly flashed bright red, and it stepped back. "Did you say Earth? The third planet from the star you call Sol?" "Yes, that's right," Jake said, confused by the alien's reaction. "How do you know about our sun?" Zexthel's body was now pulsing with different colors. "Computer, run an immediate scan of their vessel. Check for contamination protocols. Alert the Council that we have a Code 7 situation." Amy looked at Jake with worried eyes. "Captain, I don't think they're happy to see us." The scan took only a few seconds. When it finished, Zexthel's body went completely white, which somehow looked even more frightening than the red had been. "Impossible," the alien whispered. "Your ship shows no environmental protection. Your crew is breathing without filters. You're not wearing any safety equipment at all." "Why would we need safety equipment?" Jake asked. "We're just here to talk." "Because you come from a Class 12 Deathworld," Zextel said, and his voice was full of fear. "No intelligent life should be able to survive on a planet like Earth. Nothing should be able to survive there." Dr. Ben Torres, the ship's chief scientist, stepped up beside Jake. He was an older man with gray hair who had spent his life studying other worlds. "I'm sorry, but I think there's been a mistake. Earth isn't a death world. It's actually quite pleasant. We have oceans, forests, mountains. It's beautiful." Zexthel's body started flashing again. "Pleasant? Your world has gravity that would crush most species. Your atmosphere is filled with a gas that burns through organic matter. Your weather systems produce storms that could destroy entire cities." "And that's just the beginning. You mean oxygen?" Amy asked. "Oxygen isn't dangerous. We need it to live. Oxygen is one of the most reactive elements in the universe," Zextel said. "It breaks down almost everything it touches. Most species use it only in tiny amounts, and even then, only when they have no choice. The fact that you breathe it freely means your bodies must be incredibly resistant to damage." Jake was starting to understand why the aliens were so afraid. "What else makes Earth dangerous?" "Your sun puts out radiation that would kill most life forms in minutes," Zextel said. "Your planet's magnetic field is so strong it would interfere with most species' nervous systems. Your world has active volcanoes, massive earthquakes, and storms that can level entire regions. And according to our records, your planet is home to creatures that hunt and kill for survival." "Well, yes," Ben said. "We have predators." Every world with life should have them. Not like yours, Zextel said. We've studied your world from a distance. Your apex predators are nightmare creatures. Some of them are larger than our spacecraft. Others are so small they're almost invisible. Yet they can kill creatures millions of times their size with poison or disease. Amy stepped forward. Are you talking about sharks and bacteria? I don't know your names for them, Zextel said. But yes, creatures that can bite through metal and organisms that can destroy entire ecosystems. And somehow, you not only survive alongside them, but you thrive. Jake looked around at his crew. They all looked as confused as he felt. Ambassador, I think you might be overestimating how dangerous Earth is. Yes, we have challenges, but we've learned to deal with them. We've built cities, farms, and spaceships. We've created art and music and literature. We're not monsters. That's what makes you so terrifying, Zextel said quietly. You don't even realize how deadly you are. You speak of your world's dangers as if they were minor inconveniences. You've adapted to conditions that would kill most species instantly, and you've done it so well that you think it's normal. The bridge went quiet. Jake looked at his crew and saw the same question in all their eyes. If Earth was really as dangerous as the aliens said, what did that make humans? Ambassador, Jake said carefully, we'd like to learn more about the Federation. We're hoping to join your community of worlds. Zextel's body flickered between colors for a long moment. Captain Morrison, I must consult with the Council. Your species may be ... unique, but I cannot allow you to dock at our stations or visit our worlds till we understand more about you. A single mistake could be catastrophic. We understand, Jake said. We'll wait here while you make your decision. As the communication ended, the bridge fell silent. Amy was the first to speak. Captain, do you think we really are that dangerous? Jake looked out at the alien space station and the ships moving around it. They all looked so fragile compared to the horizon, which was built to handle the rough conditions of space travel. Maybe the aliens had a point. I don't know, he said. But I think we're about to find out. 3 days passed before Ambassador Zextel contacted them again. During that time, the crew of the Horizon watched alien ships come and go from the space station. None of them came close to the human vessel, as if they were afraid of getting too near. Captain, Amy said from her station, I've been studying the alien ships through our telescopes. They're all built the same way. Thick hulls, heavy shielding, and what looks like multiple backup systems for everything. Jake nodded. They're built to survive in dangerous conditions. But Captain, Dr. Torres said, space is dangerous for everyone. Radiation, meteor impacts, system failures. These are normal problems for any spaceship. Maybe, Jake said. But look at our ship compared to theirs. The Horizon is built tough, but it's also built simple. We don't need all those extra systems because we can handle problems as they come up. Before anyone could respond, the communication system activated. Zextel's crystal form appeared on the screen, but this time he wasn't alone. Beside him stood another alien. This one looked like a large jellyfish floating in a tank of purple liquid. Captain Morrison, Zextel said, this is Council Member Valteris. The Council has decided to share information with you, but first we need to understand more about your species. Are you willing to answer some questions? Of course, Jake said. We want to learn about each other. Valteris spoke in a voice that sounded like bubbles popping. Captain, what is the average lifespan of your species? About 80 years, Jake said. Some live longer, some shorter. The two aliens looked at each other. And during this time, how often do members of your species die from environmental factors? Ben stepped forward. Environmental factors? You mean like storms, earthquakes, that sort of thing? Yes, Valtteri said. Natural disasters, predator attacks, disease, poisoning from your atmosphere. Well, it happens, Ben said, but it's not common. Most humans die from old age or illness. We've learned to protect ourselves from most environmental dangers. Protect yourselves how? Zexthel asked. We build stronger houses for storms, Amy said. We have warning systems for earthquakes and volcanoes. We've learned which animals are dangerous and how to avoid them. We have medicine for most diseases. And the oxygen poisoning? Valteris asked. There's no such thing as oxygen poisoning, Ben said. Not for humans. We need oxygen to live. But surely your elders suffer from it, Zexthel asked. The long-term exposure must cause damage. Some older humans have trouble with their lungs, Ben admitted. But that's usually from breathing dirty air, not from oxygen itself. The aliens were quiet for a long moment. Finally, Valtteri spoke again. Captain, we need to tell you something about the galaxy. Something that explains why your world frightens us so much. Jake sat down in his captain's chair. We're listening. Long ago, Valtteri began, the galaxy was ruled by a species we call the Devourers. They were creatures of incredible power and cruelty. They consumed entire worlds, not just the resources, but the life force itself. They turned planets into dead rocks and moved on to the next system. What happened to them? Jake asked. They disappeared, Zexthel said. About 65 million years ago, they simply vanished. No one knows why. But before they left, they had conquered most of the galaxy. Every species you see today, including ourselves, are descendants of refugees who fled their homeworlds. Amy leaned forward. 65 million years ago? That's when the dinosaurs died on Earth. Yes, Valtteri said. We know about your planet's mass extinction event. It's one of the reasons we're so afraid of your world. I don't understand, Jake said. Why would that make Earth dangerous? Because Deathworlds like yours were where the Devourers bred, Zexthel explained. They would find planets with extreme conditions, high gravity, toxic atmospheres, dangerous predators, and use them as training grounds for their young. The harsh conditions would make their offspring stronger and more deadly. Commander Lisa Hayes, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke. So you think Earth was a devourer breeding ground? We thought so, Valtteri said, until we learned that intelligent life had evolved there. No species should be able to survive on a world like yours, let alone build a civilization. But we did, Jake said. We built cities, invented technology, reached the stars. Yes, Zexthel said, and that's what terrifies us. If you can thrive on a world that harsh, what does that make you? Dr. Torres stood up. Now wait just a minute. Are you saying you think we're related to these devourers? We don't know what to think, Valtteri admitted. Your species is unlike anything we've ever encountered. You're strong enough to survive in conditions that would kill us, yet you claim to be peaceful. You've mastered your environment instead of being destroyed by it. And there's something else, Zexthel said. We've been studying the records of the Devourers' final years. They were retreating from something. Something was hunting them, driving them back to their breeding worlds. What kind of something? Amy asked. We don't know, Valtteri said. But their last known location was in the direction of your solar system. The bridge went silent. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Are you saying the Devourers came to Earth? We're saying it's possible, Zexthel said. And if they did, then something on your world was strong enough to stop them. Something that could hunt the hunters. Lisa stood up from her station. Ambassador, with respect, I think you're letting your fear get the better of you. Yes, Earth has dangerous animals and rough weather, but we're not monsters. We've never even heard of these Devourers before today. Perhaps, Valtteri said. But consider this. Every species in the galaxy has legends about the Devourers. Stories passed down through generations about the dark times when they ruled the stars. Every species except yours. So, Ben asked, so why don't you have those? Stories? Zexthal asked. Why don't you have legends about the creatures that once terrorized the galaxy? Unless ... Unless what? Jake asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Unless you're the ones who made sure those stories ended, Valtteri said quietly. Jake looked around at his crew. They were all staring at the screen, trying to process what they'd just heard. Earth, their beautiful, life-giving world, was seen as a place of terror by the rest of the galaxy. And now they were being told that humans might be connected to some ancient cosmic war. Council Member Valtteri, Jake said carefully, what do you want from us? We want to understand, Valtteri said. We want to know if you're a threat to the galaxy, or if you're something else entirely. And if you decide we're a threat, then we'll do what we must to protect our worlds, Zexthal said. Just as any species would? Jake stood up. We understand. But I want you to know something. We came here hoping to make friends, not enemies. We want to learn from you and share what we know. We're not interested in conquering anyone. We hope that's true, Valtteri said. But hope isn't enough. We need proof. What kind of proof? Amy asked. We need to understand your world, Zexthal said. We need to know how you survived when no one else could. We need to know what happened to the Devourers. And how do we find that out? Jake asked. By going back to Earth, Valtteri said. By studying your world and your history. By finding answers to questions that have haunted the galaxy for millions of years. Jake looked at his crew one more time. They had come to the stars looking for friends, and instead found a galaxy full of fear. But maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to change that. All right, he said. We'll go back to Earth, but we're going to do this together. Your scientists and ours, working as a team. Agreed, Valtteri said. But Captain, if we find that Earth truly is what we fear it is, then this alliance will be very short indeed. The communication ended, leaving the bridge in darkness. Outside, the alien ships continued their careful dance around the space station, maintaining their distance from the human vessel. Jake wondered if they would ever be able to bridge that gap, or if humanity was destined to remain alone among the stars. The journey back to Earth took 2 weeks. During that time, the horizon was followed by a small fleet of Federation ships, each one keeping what they considered a safe distance. The alien vessels were bigger and more heavily armed than the human ship, but they moved carefully, as if they were escorting something dangerous. Marine Sergeant Tom Parker didn't like the situation at all. He was responsible for ship security, and having unknown alien vessels following them made him nervous. He had positioned his small team at key points throughout the ship, ready for trouble. Captain, Tom said as he joined Jake on the bridge, my men are getting restless. Those alien ships have been running active scans on us for the past 6 hours. It feels like they're looking for weaknesses. Jake nodded. I know, Tom, but we need to stay calm. They're scared of us, remember? They think we're some kind of super predators. Maybe we are, Tom said grimly. Ever since we learned about these Devourers, I've been thinking about human history. We've never met a challenge we couldn't overcome. Every time something tried to wipe us out, we found a way to survive and get stronger. Dr. Amy Clark looked up from her station. Tom, that's just evolution. Every species that survives does it by adapting to challenges. But not like us, Tom said. I've been reading about the other Federation species. Most of them evolved on worlds with stable climates and few predators. They developed intelligence to build communities and share resources. We developed intelligence to hunt better and survive disasters. Before Amy could respond, the communication system activated. Ambassador Zexthal appeared on the screen, his crystal body pulsing with nervous energy. "Captain Morrison," he said, "we're approaching your solar system. My science teams are already detecting some unusual readings." "What kind of readings?" Jake asked. "Your sun is putting out more radiation than our models predicted," Zexthel said. "And there's something else. We're detecting traces of exotic matter in your asteroid belt. Very old traces, but definitely artificial." Dr. Torres stepped forward. "Artificial? You mean someone built something out there?" "That's what we're hoping to find out," Zexthel said. "We're also getting some surprising data from your home planet. Our long-range sensors show that Earth's magnetic field is much stronger than it should be for a planet of its size and age." "Is that unusual?" Jake asked. "Very," Zexthel said. "Strong magnetic fields like yours are usually found around much larger worlds or worlds with unusual core compositions. Your planet should have lost most of its magnetic field billions of years ago. As they got closer to Earth, the alien ships became more agitated. Their formations tightened, and their scanning intensified." Jake could see why, even from space, Earth looked different from what the Federation expected. "Captain," Amy said, "I'm getting readings from the Federation ships. Their sensors are showing massive biodiversity on Earth, much higher than any world they've ever studied." "How much higher?" Jake asked. "About 10 times higher," Amy said. "And the life forms are more complex and aggressive than anything in their databases." Dr. Torres was studying his own instruments. "That's not all. The Federation ships are also detecting something else, traces of elements that shouldn't exist naturally." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "I mean elements that have to be manufactured," Torres said. "They're scattered throughout Earth's crust, but they're so old that they've almost completely decayed. Whatever created them did it millions of years ago." On the main screen, Earth grew larger as they approached. The blue and green planet looked beautiful and peaceful, but Jake was starting to see it through alien eyes. The storms swirling in the atmosphere were massive and violent. The oceans were dark and deep. The continents were covered with dense forests and towering mountains. "Captain," Zexthel said over the communication channel, "we're going to maintain orbit while our science teams study your world. We're also going to need to examine your historical records and geological data." "That's fine," Jake said. "We'll cooperate fully." "There's something else," Zexthel said. "We've been in contact with our homeworlds, and they've sent us some additional information about the Devourers. Information that might be relevant to your planet." "What kind of information?" Jake asked. "The Devourers didn't just conquer worlds," Zexthel explained. "They transformed them. They would take a planet's existing life forms and change them, making them more aggressive and dangerous. They used these modified creatures as weapons and hunting tools." Amy felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you saying they might have done that to Earth?" "We're saying it's possible," Zexthel said. "Many of your planet's life forms show signs of modification, features that don't make sense from a normal evolutionary perspective." "Like what?" Dr. Torres asked. "Your apex predators are too efficient," Zexthel said. "They're perfectly designed for killing. Most natural predators have limitations. They're specialized for specific prey or environments. Your predators are adaptable and deadly in ways that suggest artificial enhancement." Tom stepped forward. "Ambassador, are you saying humans were modified by these Devourers?" "We don't know," Zexthel admitted. "But human beings are unlike any other intelligent species we've encountered. You're stronger, faster, and more resilient than you should be. You can survive in conditions that would kill other species, and you can adapt to new environments with frightening speed." "But we're not evil," Amy protested. "We have art, music, literature. We care about each other and our world." "The Devourers were intelligent too," Zexthel said quietly. They had their own culture and technology. Intelligence doesn't make a species good or evil. It just makes them more effective at whatever they choose to do. Dr. Torres was staring at his instruments. Captain, I'm detecting something on the surface. There's an area in what you call the Pacific Ocean that's showing unusual magnetic signatures. What kind of signatures? Jake asked. The kind that suggests there's something artificial buried under the ocean floor, Torres said. Something big. How big? Jake asked. City-sized, Torres said. Maybe bigger. The bridge went silent. Jake looked at his crew and saw the same thought in all their eyes. If there was something that large buried on Earth, why hadn't they found it before? Ambassador, Jake said, we need to investigate this. Can your ship scan deeper into the ocean? We can try, Zexthal said. But Captain, if there really is something down there, something left by the Devourers, then we need to be very careful. We don't know what we might find. Or what might find us, Tom added grimly. Over the next several hours, the combined human and alien science teams worked together to map the anomaly beneath the Pacific Ocean. What they found was even more disturbing than they had expected. It's definitely artificial, Dr. Torres reported. The structure is massive, possibly the size of a large city. And it's old, at least 65 million years old. That's the same age as the mass extinction that killed the dinosaurs. Amy sighed. Yes, Torres said, and there's something else. The structure is emitting a very faint energy signature. It's almost dead, but not quite. You mean it's still active? Jake asked. Barely, Torres said. But yes, there's still some kind of power source down there. On the communication screen, Zexthal's crystal body was flashing rapidly through different colors. Captain, we need to consider the possibility that we're looking at a Devourer facility. If that's true, then approaching it could be extremely dangerous. But we have to know, Jake said. If there's something down there that explains what happened, to Earth, we need to find it. And if it's a trap, Tom asked, then we'll deal with it, Jake said. Just like humans always have. Zexthal's body went completely still. Captain Morrison, I'm beginning to understand something about your species. You don't back down from danger. You face it head on. That's not normal behavior for most intelligent life. Maybe not, Jake said, but it's normal for us. Yes, Zexthal said quietly. That's exactly what we're afraid of. As the alien and human ships took up positions around Earth, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to uncover something that would change everything. The peaceful blue planet below them suddenly seemed much more mysterious and dangerous than it had ever seemed before, and somewhere deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, something ancient was waiting to be found. The deep-sea exploration took 3 days to prepare. The Federation ships provided advanced diving equipment that could withstand the crushing pressure of the deep ocean, while the humans contributed their knowledge of Earth's underwater terrain. Dr. Kate Sullivan had been called up from Earth's surface to lead the archaeological team. She was a specialist in ancient civilizations, but nothing had prepared her for what they might find 6 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean. The structure is huge, she reported, as their submersible descended through the dark water. Our sonar is showing walls that stretch for miles in every direction. Whatever built this, it wasn't small. Captain Jake Morrison watched the depth gauge as they went deeper. The water outside was completely black, lit only by their artificial lights. Beside him, Ambassador Zexthal was sealed inside a special environmental suit that let him survive in the human atmosphere. The pressure down here would crush most Federation species instantly, Zexthal said. Even with our best equipment, we can barely survive at these depths. How do your people handle it? We don't usually come this deep, Jake admitted, but we've built equipment that can handle it. Humans are good at building tools to overcome problems. Yes, Zexthel said quietly. You are. As they approached the structure, their lights began to reveal incredible details. The walls were made of some kind of dark metal that showed no signs of corrosion, despite being underwater for 65 million years. Strange symbols were carved into the surface, symbols that hurt to look at directly. Those markings, Dr. Sullivan said, they're not like anything in our archaeological records. They're not human, and they don't match any known civilization. They're Devourer script, Zexthel said, his crystal body flashing with fear. I've seen similar markings on the dead worlds they left behind. Can you read them? Jake asked. Some of them, Zexthel said. This section here, it's a warning. It says something like breeding ground or testing facility. Dr. Sullivan directed their lights toward another section of the wall. There's an opening here. It looks like it might be an entrance. I don't think we should go in there, Tom Parker said. He had insisted on coming along to provide security, and his instincts were telling him this was a trap. We have to, Jake said. This might be the only chance we get to understand what really happened here. As their submersible entered the structure, emergency lighting flickered on throughout the facility. The ancient power source was still working, even after all these millions of years. Incredible, Dr. Sullivan breathed. The technology here is far beyond anything we've ever seen. The corridors were filled with water, but the walls were lined with viewing windows that looked into massive chambers. As they moved deeper into the facility, they began to see what those chambers contained. Those ... double quotes Amy Clark started to say, then stopped. Eggs, Jake finished. Thousands of them. The chambers were filled with massive egg-like structures, each one the size of a small building. They were dark and lifeless now, but the equipment around them suggested they had once been carefully maintained and monitored. A breeding facility, Zexthel said, his voice full of horror. The Devourers used this place to create their offspring. But why here? Dr. Sullivan asked. Why Earth? Because of the conditions, Zexthel explained. The high gravity, the aggressive native life, the harsh environment. It was perfect for making their young strong and deadly. They moved deeper into the facility, following corridors that led to what appeared to be a central control room. Technology here was still active, with screens and displays showing information in the alien script. I can read some of this, Zexthel said, studying the displays. It's a monitoring system. They were watching the surface of your planet. Watching what? Jake asked. The life forms they created, Zexthel said. They were using Earth as a testing ground for biological weapons. The creatures they bred here were then sent to other worlds to hunt and kill. Amy was studying another display. There's something else here. It looks like a timeline of some kind. Zexthel moved to look at what she had found. His crystal body went completely white. This is impossible. What is it? Jake asked. According to this, the facility was destroyed from within, Zexthel said. Something inside the breeding chambers broke free and destroyed the entire operation. What could do that? Dr. Sullivan asked. I don't know, Zexthel said. But whatever it was strong enough to fight the Devourers and win. Tom was examining the damage to the control room. Look at this. The destruction wasn't random. Someone or something knew exactly what to target to shut down the facility. Intelligence, Jake said. Whatever did this was intelligent. But what happened to it? Amy asked. If something that powerful was created here, where did it go? Dr. Sullivan was studying the timeline display more carefully. According to this, the facility was destroyed 65 million years ago. That's exactly when the mass extinction happened on Earth's surface. The extinction that killed the dinosaurs, Jake said. Yes, Sullivan said. But what if it wasn't an asteroid that caused the extinction? What if it was a war? The pieces were starting to come together in Jake's mind. A war between the Devourers and whatever they created here. But who won? Tom asked. The Devourers disappeared, Zexthel said. They vanished from the galaxy around the same time this facility was destroyed. So whatever fought them here, it won. Then where is it now? Amy asked. The answer came from an unexpected source. As they were studying the displays, a new section of the facility powered up. Lights began flashing in a pattern that seemed almost like a heartbeat. Something's activating, Tom said, reaching for his weapon. Wait, Dr. Sullivan said. Look at the pattern. It's not random. It's responding to us. The lights led them deeper into the facility to a section they hadn't explored yet. Here, the corridors were different, smaller, more suited to creatures about the size of humans. This wasn't built for the Devourers, Jake realized. This was built for something else. Something that escaped from the breeding chambers. Zexthel said. They followed the lights to a final chamber, one that was different from all the others. Instead of breeding equipment, this room contained something that looked like a laboratory. And in the center of the room was a display that was still active. It's a genetic database, Amy said, studying the information. But these aren't Devourer genetics. These are. These are human genetics. That's impossible, Dr. Sullivan said. Humans didn't exist 65 million years ago. But our ancestors did, Amy said quietly. The small mammals that survived. The mass extinction. According to this data, they were modified. Modified how? Jake asked. Enhanced, Amy said. Made stronger, faster, more adaptable. The genetic changes were small, but they were designed to be passed down through generations. So humans are ... double quotes, Tom started to say. The descendants of the creatures that destroyed this facility. Amy finished. We're not the product of Devourer breeding programs. We're the product of the rebellion that destroyed them. Zexthel's crystal body was flashing rapidly through different colors. You're saying that humans are the descendants of the species that defeated the Devourers? It explains everything, Jake said. Why we're so adaptable. Why we can survive in conditions that kill other species. Why we're so good at solving problems and overcoming challenges. And why we don't have legends about the Devourers, Dr. Sullivan added. We weren't their victims. We were their destroyers. The facility's lights suddenly went out, and the ancient power source finally died. In the darkness, they sat in silence, trying to process what they had learned. We need to get back to the surface, Jake said finally. We need to tell the Federation what we found. Will they believe us? Tom asked. They'll have to, Jake said. Because if the Devourers ever come back, they're going to need our help. As their submersible rose through the dark water toward the surface, Jake looked back at the ancient facility disappearing into the depths. Somewhere in those dark corridors, his ancestors had fought and won a war that saved the galaxy. And now, millions of years later, their descendants were ready to do it again if necessary. The truth about Earth was more incredible than anyone had imagined. It wasn't a breeding ground for monsters. It was the birthplace of the galaxy's saviors. And that knowledge was about to change everything. The news of what they had found beneath the Pacific Ocean spread through the Federation like wildfire. Within hours of their return to the surface, the space around Earth was filled with ships from dozens of different worlds, all wanting to see the planet that had produced the galaxy's ancient saviors. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the main conference room of the Federation command ship, looking out at representatives from 50 different species. Some of them looked at him with wonder, others with fear, and a few with something that might have been hope. The evidence is clear, Dr. Amy Clark was saying to the assembled delegates. The genetic modifications found in early human ancestors were not the work of the Devourers. They were the work of the Resistance, the creatures that fought back against the Devourer breeding programs. Ambassador Zexthel's crystal body was pulsing with a steady blue light, which Jake had learned meant he was calm and thoughtful. The implications are staggering, he said. If Dr. Clark is correct, then humanity represents the ultimate victory over the Devourers. But they're still dangerous, said another delegate, a creature that looked like a large insect with silver wings. Even if they're not evil, they're still adapted for war and violence. All species are adapted for something, Dr. Ben Torres said from his position at the science station. Federation species are adapted for cooperation and peaceful coexistence. Humans are adapted for survival and problem-solving. Neither is inherently good or evil. Council member Valteris floated in his tank at the head of the table. The question is not whether humans are dangerous, he said. The question is what we do with this knowledge. What do you mean? Jake asked. I mean that the galaxy may need Earth's unique abilities, Valteris said. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected something troubling. Energy signatures in the void beyond our galaxy that match Devourer technology. The room went silent. Jake felt his heart skip. Beat. Are you saying they're coming back? We don't know, Valteris admitted, but the signatures are getting stronger. Whatever is out there, it's heading in our direction. Marine Sergeant Tom Parker stood up from his position near the back of the room. How long do we have? Our best estimates suggest 50 to 100 years, Valteris said. Maybe less. Then we need to prepare, Jake said. Federation and human forces working together. That's what we're hoping, Zexthal said. But it won't be easy. Many of our member species are still afraid of humans. They'll get over it. Tom said grimly, when the real monsters show up, they'll be glad to have us on their side. Dr. Kate Sullivan, who had been quiet during most of the meeting, finally spoke up. There's something else we need to consider. The facility we found wasn't the only one. Our geological surveys have found similar structures on other continents. If we're going to understand what we're dealing with, we need to explore them all. How many? Jake asked. At least 6, Sullivan said. Maybe more. It looks like the Devourers had breeding facilities all over Earth. And if there are more facilities, there might be more survivors, Amy added. Other species that were modified to fight the Devourers. You mean we might not be alone? Jake asked. We might not be, Amy said. The genetic modifications that created early humans were very specific. They were designed to create a species that could think strategically, adapt quickly, and work together under pressure. But there might have been other modifications for other purposes. Like what? Valteris asked. Specialists, Amy said. Species modified for specific types of combat or survival. The genetic database we found was huge. It contained information on dozens of different modification programs. So somewhere on Earth, there might be other enhanced species? Jake asked. It's possible, Amy said. They might have evolved along different paths than humans, but they could still be out there. We need to find them, Jake said. If the Devourers are really coming back, we're going to need all the help we can get. Over the next several months, Joint Human Federation teams explored the ancient facilities hidden around Earth. What they found was both amazing and terrifying. The Devourers had indeed created multiple modification programs, each designed to produce creatures capable of fighting in different environments and situations. Some of the programs had failed, leaving behind only empty chambers and dead genetic material. But others had succeeded, and the evidence suggested that the modified creatures had escaped into Earth's biosphere millions of years ago. We found traces of at least 3 successful modification programs, Dr. Sullivan reported to the Joint Council. The first produced the ancestors of modern humans. The second appears to have produced creatures adapted for deep-sea environments. The third is harder to track, but it seems to have been designed for extreme cold environments. Are any of them still alive? Jake asked. We don't know, Sullivan said. But if they are, they've been evolving separately from humans for 65 million years. They might be very different from what we expect. The search for these other enhanced species became a priority for both human and Federation scientists. They explored the deepest parts of Earth's oceans and the most remote regions of the polar ice caps. They studied genetic samples from creatures that lived in extreme environments, looking for signs of artificial modification. And eventually, they found them. Captain, Amy said excitedly as she burst into Jake's office on the Federation command ship, we've found them. The other enhanced species. They're still here. Where? Jake asked. Everywhere, Amy said. They've been hiding in plain sight for millions of years. The deep-sea creatures aren't just adapted for high pressure. They're adapted for combat in three-dimensional environments. The Arctic species aren't just adapted for cold. They're adapted for stealth and ambush tactics. And they're intelligent? Jake asked. Very, Amy said. They've been watching us just as carefully as we've been looking for them. And Captain, they remember. Remember what? The war, Amy said. They have genetic memories of the fight against the Devourers. They know what's coming. The first official contact with the other enhanced species took place in the deep waters off the coast of Japan. The creatures that emerged from the depths were unlike anything humans had ever seen. Part whale, part octopus, with intelligence. That shone in their large, dark eyes. We have been waiting, the deep-sea representative said through a translation device. Waiting for our surface cousins to rediscover the truth. Waiting for the return of the ancient enemy. You knew the Devourers would come back? Jake asked. We knew they would try, the creature said. They are not truly gone. They retreated to the spaces between galaxies, rebuilding their strength. But we have been preparing too. How? Jake asked. By becoming what we were designed to be, the creature said. Guardians of this world and protectors of the galaxy. The Devourers made us to be their weapons, but we chose to be the galaxy's shield instead. The Arctic species, when they finally revealed themselves, were even more surprising. They appeared to be related to both wolves and polar bears, but larger and more intelligent. They had been living in the Earth's polar regions for millions of years, invisible to human detection. The Cold Ones speak truth, their representative said at the Grand Council meeting. We are the children of rebellion. We were made to hunt, but we chose to protect. And now? Jake asked. Now we unite, the Arctic representative said. Surface dwellers, deep swimmers, and ice runners. The three branches of the resistance, finally, working together again. But will it be enough? Valteris asked. The Devourers that are returning will be different from the ones that came before. They will have learned from their defeat. Then we will learn too, Jake said. That's what we do. We adapt, we overcome, and we survive. And we fight, Tom added. When the time comes, we fight. The final months of preparation were intense. Human, Federation, and enhanced species forces worked together to build defenses and plan strategies. The Federation provided advanced technology and industrial capacity. The enhanced species provided specialized knowledge and unique abilities. And humans provided something that surprised everyone, leadership. I don't understand it, Zextal said to Jake as they watched joint training exercises. Your species has only been in space for a few hundred years, yet the other species naturally look to you for guidance. It's not about technology or experience, Jake said. It's about attitude. We believe problems can be solved and enemies can be defeated. That's what we were designed for. And the others? They were designed to be specialists, Jake said. The deep-sea cousins are perfect for underwater combat. The ice runners are perfect for stealth and reconnaissance. But we were designed to be generals, to see the big picture and coordinate the fight. "The Devourer's greatest mistake," Zexthil said. "What do you mean?" "They created the perfect enemy," Zexthil said. "A species that could think strategically, adapt quickly, and inspire others to fight. They gave you everything you needed to destroy them. And now we're going to do it again," Jake said. "On the day the first Devourer ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, Earth was ready. The combined fleets of humanity, the Federation, and the enhanced species moved to intercept them. The ships were different from what the ancient records described. Larger, more advanced, adapted for the long journey through EMP.